Thanks for joining us. We've got a large group joining us today. Greatly appreciate it. We have a tremendous amount of collaboration in putting this event together. Thank you to Elizabeth and Michael and Christina for helping us put this together as we discuss, homeownership in Atlantic City. I'm the president of the Greater Atlantic City Chamber. My name is Michael Chait. Appreciate those members that have joined us. If you're not a member and you're interested in learning more about the chamber, just drop a little question in the chat room and your email address, and I'll reach out to you. I'll let you know what we're doing. It's been a busy day so far today with Governor Murphy announcing 50% capacity opening in restaurants and gyms. So I've been tied up with a lot of that. But for today's purpose and in home ownership, greatly appreciate you joining us. An incredibly important topic in Atlantic City. I am born and raised in Atlantic City. I live in Egg Harbor Township now, but I lived the majority of my life in Atlantic City. It is so important to the community from a variety of standpoints, and it goes well beyond the tax base and what that contributes to in creating a sense of community in Atlantic City. Part of our organization, even though majority of our members are off the island, our focus on Atlantic City is critical to the region's success. So welcome, thank you for joining us. I'm going to turn it over to Michael Cagno now, and thank you again. Looking forward to this.
Thanks so much, Mike. This is fantastic. I love the attendance that we have. Right here is a pure example of collaboration. I am Mike Cagno, the Executive Director of the Noyes Museum. I'm calling you live from the Arts Garage today in downtown Atlantic City, but I come to you in the capacity of the President of the Ducktown Neighborhood Community Development Corporation. And it's my pleasure to be working with the other CDCs. We have Elizabeth from Chelsea, and we have Dylan from Atlantic Care Midtown. And this is a prime example that, listen, we have a crisis in Atlantic City, housing. And by working together with the CDCs, neighborhood associations, we can make things happen. And if you look at the recent articles happening, Wall Street Journal, Atlantic City is very prime. So thanks for joining us, and looking forward to hearing everything. Elizabeth, on to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really happy with the registration. We have about 100 people that had signed up. It looks like most of those folks are on today. So we know this is an issue that's really important. And clearly all the organizations that are trying to advance Atlantic City and help us to do better have prioritized home ownership because we see it as a way to really change the community. So the community development corporations have gotten together. We see that home ownership can grow wealth for residents. It could change the neighborhoods where people take better care of their properties. It kind of stems off the problem of gentrification. Some people see gentrification as something that's good, but when people that work in a community that can no longer afford to live there, or a community loses its character and diversity, we don't see that as a good thing. So we feel if we can shift renters to become homeowners, that's a really good strategy to both revitalize the communities and also not have people get displaced. There's two things I want to mention. First of all, the programs that are going to be talked about today can be very challenging to get through. And I want people to understand as they go through the process that it's not easy and it requires a lot of paperwork. But there have been hundreds and hundreds of people that have been helped by these programs. And secondly, the houses that are for sale in Atlantic City, a lot of them need work. And we know that that's the case. We have to start somewhere. And we feel if we can start to create a demand for the homes that need this work, maybe contractors would buy them, fix them up, and sell them to people that are looking for homes. Right now is an incredible time where renters can actually pay less to own a home than to rent because of the low interest rates, the programs that are available that we're going to talk about today. And also Atlantic City still does have good deals throughout the city, regardless of the recent increase in values. So thank you again so much for joining us. I hope you learned something today, and we will be available afterwards for questions and to follow up with more information. Enjoy the program. I'm going to turn it over to Joe Girallo.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and it's been a pleasure to work with you through this whole process. I'm here with Jess today, and today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the programs that we offer here at the Improvement Authority. One of the major things that we offer to Atlantic City is a first-time home buyers program. Our first-time home buyers program is quite a bit different than the first-time home buyer program that you'll hear about later that the city operates. Our program, you can have an income up to $100,000 to be eligible for the program. And what we help you with is 10% of the purchase price of a home up to $250,000. So we would assist you with $25,000 for your down payment. For example, if it was a $250,000 home, and up to $5,000 in eligible closing costs. And we do not, in the closing costs, pay any of the prepaids, meaning taxes, water, sewer, points. We don't pay any of that. So to qualify for the program, it's kind of simple. Either you have to have lived in Atlantic City or lived in Atlantic County or work in Atlantic City for 1 year period
Check.
prior to. Okay, prior to. And your income, total household income cannot exceed $100,000, which will include a lot of people working here in the city. So you can go up to $100,000. We assist, as I said, with what we do there. And the way to get an application for our program is really kind of easy. You have to deal with one of our lenders, okay, which are approved by the New Jersey Mortgage Finance, okay, which you'll find on our website. And I direct everything that I say here today can be found on our website, www.acianj.org. And of course, I'm available anytime at 609-343-2390 to answer any questions. And that's what we do for the program. I am the person that you'll deal with, and Jess nowadays, with the application process. So in order to get an application, you have to have a pre-qualification letter, and an LE. Once the LE, which is a loan estimator, and the pre-qual are sent in to Jess, then an application is sent out. We do not do any of this via email so that we keep track of applications. The applications go out, they come back in. I am the person that you will deal with from the application process all the way through the process and to the closing. I actually attend the closing and bring the check with me for the amount that we're going to assist you with. And as Elizabeth said, there's a lot of paperwork, but what we mirror here at the Improvement Authority is the absolute same paperwork that you're going to go through with your first mortgage. So whenever you deal with title and appraisals and mortgage commitments or approvals by the city, all of that is the same thing. My file mirrors anything that any mortgage company would have. So I'm always available. I help everyone through the process. In my tenure here in many, many years, I've probably assisted over 500 people with first-time home buyers, not only here in Atlantic City, but throughout the county. It's not that difficult to get through. I always pride myself on trying to help people because this is people aren't buying a house every day. So we help you through it and we step you through the process. And Elizabeth brought up a point that I'm going to just touch on real quick. And that's if you were to buy a home that if you needs housing rehab to the home, I see there's a question. My phone number is 609-343-2390. If you were to buy a home that needed rehab or needed to be fixed, absolutely, it's a second program that we offer, housing rehabilitation program here in the city. And the income guidelines are the same. And we'll usually come in and spend up to another $25,000 on housing rehab. Now, our program for first-time home buyer and rehab are in a sense of a 100% deferred loan, meaning that money gets paid back at transfer of title or sale of the property. All of those guidelines are on our website and you can go through that. Certainly take any questions that anybody has. We're going to stick around for the whole time. And if anybody has any questions, certainly answer them.
Hey, Joe, it's Mike Chape. Before we move on to the next speaker, if you wouldn't mind, put your contact information in the chat box. I've had a couple people send messages asking for that when you're done your
Okay,
presentation.
Jess is going to do that right now.
Excellent.
And certainly I am available at any time to help anyone. It's most important because it is a cumbersome process at times.
And Michael, we're going to save questions for the end, or people can put them in the chat, correct? Because we actually have 15 people speaking today, so we want to keep things on schedule.
That's correct. So I put a message in the chat box. If anybody has any questions, throw them in there and then we'll address them at the end.
Michael, do you want to introduce the next speaker?
I don't have, whoops, I don't have that individual's name. Do you? Who is it?
It's Emmanuel Nieves.
Thanks.
Let's see, perfect. Thank you, Christina and Elizabeth and Michael. And also thank you to the Atlantic City CDCs represented here and the Greater Atlantic City Chamber and the Stories of Atlantic City for the opportunity to tell my story of home ownership here in AC. You know, as I mentioned, my name is Emmanuel Nieves. I'm a policy director at a national nonprofit organization, but more importantly to that, I'm an Atlantic City native, having been born and raised here, and also, obviously, to the theme of today's call, a proud Atlantic City homeowner as well. But you know, my story of homeownership was not, you know, a simple one. I think to the point that was mentioned earlier about the process being obviously, you know, not an easy one, but it is rewarding. But you know, like so many young people, when they come to age, you know, I was ready to leave the city the minute I could, and in part, you know, I think that was because I thought I knew everything that the city had to offer, and because, you know, I wanted to find more opportunities elsewhere, or really I thought I knew everything about the city. And so after graduating from Stockton in 2009, I left and joined my now wife in DC, where we spent the next 10 years building out our lives and careers as, you know, as adults and professionals. And so for me as a professional, my time in DC was spent building out my public policy career, working to, you know, on issues on consumer protection, tax policy, financial security issues at the federal level, you know, issues that really impact the lives and livelihoods of low-income people and people of color. And so that work would eventually lead me to work on racial equity issues and the racial wealth gap, and that would eventually lead us to, you know, I think, the home that we're in today. And so it was through that work, learning about the drivers of racial economic inequality, including the history and impact of redlining, the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, what have you, that I came to understand a couple of things. One, I didn't know everything about Atlantic City, and two, that, you know, the lack of investment opportunities in parts of the city in particular is not, you know, I think a byproduct of the choices made by the people living in those parts of the city, which, you know, is often kind of the way that it's painted by folks on the outside. And so that realization, you know, brought a lot of kind of emotions, a lot of introspection, but it gave me a greater sense of appreciation for the city and for the people in it, and the resiliency that Atlantic City has shown, you know, countless times over the years, even when it's not given kind of the chance to prove itself. And so, you know, that was great, and that sense of appreciation and knowledge was fantastic. But, you know, the issue was that we were still in DC. We didn't have an opportunity to kind of come back home and resettle, you know, kind of reset our roots here. But fortunately, that changed in 2018 when my wife got an opportunity to be part of the Goals Gear Up program here at the Atlantic City Stockton campus. That brought us back home and, you know, made, again, that possibility of resettling here a real thing. And not just something that we talked about, which we often did, you know, as we were away in those 10 years. And so once we were ready to start the home buying process, we were not only intentional about buying a home in Atlantic City, even though we, you know, the program that we were using gave us an opportunity to finance something here or in Pleasantville in particular. And so we were intentional about buying Atlantic City because we believed in it and in its future, but also to invest in parts of the city that have been part of kind of this broader history of neglect that I've learned through my work and I've tried to elevate as a public policy professional, including, you know, the history of redlining, where parts of the north side of the city here were shaded in red and yellow and thus, you know, disinvested over generations. And so, you know, throughout that whole buy process, it was not easy, again, to the remarks earlier, but we looked mostly at properties kind of north of the expressway and finally settling in Venice Park. And I want to give a shout out to Tracy, who's on the call today, who helped us in that whole journey, and was wonderful. But in the end, to close, for us, it's been a point of pride to be a homeowner in Atlantic City. It was not easy. It's wonderful to be able to have a property regardless, but to have one in the city that you grew up with, and to play a small but I think important role in investing in a place that's given us so much, especially when the narrative of Atlantic City broadly, but the specific parts of the city are not kind of justified or fair. Because at the end of the day, I think every city has its own issues, but at least here there's a strong community, as evidenced by this call, a strong set of partners and government that are invested in its success, and know that the potential of the city and of its people, if given a chance to succeed. So with that, I'll stop there.
Yeah, that was great, Emmanuel. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your stories. Next, we're going to move over to Lakeisha Walker. Lakeisha?
Yes. And I'm just can you set me up to
Yep.
share the screen, Michael? Thank you
Absolutely.
so much. And good afternoon to everyone. All right. Just 1 second. So while we're waiting, I'm going to put in the chat box. This is a link to our lender referral tool if you are interested in getting information about how to apply for our programs. So I just put that in the chat to make it easier for everyone. I don't want to go over my time. All right, great. So I'm just going to share my screen. And so what I want to share with everyone, as I said, my name is Lakeisha Walker. I'm the manager of business development for New Jersey Housing for our single family division. And through the agency, what we offer, and which would be a great help to a lot of people in Atlantic City if you're looking to be home buyers, is that we have a program that offers $10,000 for down payment and closing costs. It's available statewide. These are just the program names. It's our first time home buyer program and our Homeward Bound program. The first mortgage will either be an FHA, VA, or USDA loan, and it's combined with our down payment assistance program. These are just the borrower requirements that I'll go over briefly. And so the borrower must, of course, purchase and occupy a residential home in New Jersey. It can also be someone moving. So if you're looking to move into Atlantic City, you can use our program. You must meet our qualifications as well as the qualifications of our participating lenders. So if you're interested in using our programs, you will go through one of our lenders, which is why I put that link in the chat. And that's a link for our lender referral program. And you'll submit that request form. And what we'll do is we'll send you the names of 3 different loan officers from 3 different banks, their email address and their phone number. And then you can contact them to let them know you're interested in applying for our programs. But with this program, you have to be a first-time home buyer. Now, how we define that as is someone who has not had ownership interest in their primary residence during the previous 3 years. We do have 2 exceptions to that. The first exception is if you are buying a home in a designated urban target area. We know in Atlantic City, there are a lot of areas that will qualify for that. But what you would do is you would work with one of our participating lenders to make sure that the purchased property does qualify. And then the other exception is qualified veterans. So qualified veterans, they don't need to be first-time home buyers, but they must not own another primary residence at closing. Borrowers must also have a credit score of 620 or higher, and then you must meet the debt to income requirements. So for this first program, it's a front-end max of 40, back-end max of 45%, but you'll work with the lender on this. And then you must not possess enough liquid assets to close a loan at 80% loan to value. That does include the down payment and the closing cost. I'll just show real quickly the income limits for this program. And what I'll do is I see there's an option to add files. So I'm going to add these handouts to the chat box if that works right. So just showing you here quickly for Atlantic City, for a 1 to 2 family household, maximum income limit is $103,300. For a 3+ household, it's $118,795. Just going back up, you'll see here where for the urban target areas, a little bit higher income limit, but again, you'll work with the lender to see if the property qualifies. So for a 1 to 2 family, it's $123,960. 3+ family, it's $144,620. Another program option that we have available, and this is for families who have a higher household income, higher debts. This is our Homeward Bound program. It's the same borrower qualifications, just a different program name. First mortgage is still going to be FHA, VA, or USDA, and it's going to be combined with our down payment assistance program. You'll see for Atlantic County, excuse me, for 1 to 2 family, 3+, the maximum, it's really simple, $144,620. So you'll see this has a lot more of a higher income limit, especially if you're in that area. Now with our $10,000, the way that it works is you get $10,000, it's a flat $10,000 for down payment and closing costs. You live in the home for 5 years and it's completely forgiven. There's no payments, no interest. And as long as you don't sell the home, refinance, or default, that $10,000 is completely forgiven. The program can be used to buy a single family home, a townhome, a manufactured or mobile home, as long as it's affixed to the foundation. And you can also now use it. We've made some changes where you can use it for new construction. And so that's something that a lot of people are very excited about. And then you also can use it to buy a 1 to 4 family dwelling unit, but the borrower must live in one of the units as their primary residence. Another requirement for the program, of course, you do have to complete a HUD-approved credit counseling course. Also with me today on the webinar from the agency, Jesse Crawford. He's our marketing and outreach coordinator. So I don't know if Jesse can unmute himself to say hi or mention something briefly about the HUD-approved credit counseling course. But again, if you are interested, if you want more information, please use the link in the chat box. And I know that Elizabeth, she does have information available on her sites about our program as well. And again, thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you to the CDC and Atlantic City for letting us be a part of it. And let's see.
Yep. So Lakeisha, I was going to say, if you move that cursor to the top of my screen, there's 3 dots and you can turn the host back over to me.
All right, give me 1 second. I don't think I'm doing this right. There you are.
Yep.
Where's, okay, make host.
You got it. Thank you, Lakeisha.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Lakeisha.
Thank you.
A couple other people just joined us. I'm letting them in the room.
Lakeisha, I think it is important to note, this program does require PMI, is that correct?
It does, because it's going to follow the standard FHA guidelines for PMI. We are, just announced to everyone, we are working on a conventional program that can be combined with our down payment assistance, but that will not be launched until later this year.
Okay, thank you.
And Lakeisha, you have to, I'm going to share this, send this back to you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stop sharing your screen.
Okay. Sorry.
No problem. There you go. And then return the host back to me.
All right. Sorry about that. We normally, we're working to get Zoom. We normally use Skype and Microsoft Teams. So.
No, you're doing great.
Awesome.
While
Thank
you're
you.
searching that, I'm just gonna make the point that throughout the program, we invited people like Emmanuel, who you heard speak, who own homes in Atlantic City, to kind of tell their story. And this was an idea to add a personal side to home ownership here in Atlantic City, rather than just having the technical information. Our next speaker is Gina Roche. She's a resident in the Chelsea neighborhood on Chelsea Avenue. Gina?
Hi. I also have John here, who grew up in Atlantic City. So
hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
So yeah, you talked the storm up last night. So why don't you say?
Well, it's a great place to live, and I know those of you who live here and know it, you know all about it. You know, of course, Atlantic City has its downsides, but I'm not.
What place doesn't?
Here to talk about that. You know, the fact that I can go up to the boardwalk two blocks away and run 5 or 6 miles, you know, and not really, you know, just have a wonderful time. It's and the beach is right there. You know, our natural environment here is so amazing. I've lived all over the country. I've lived in Colorado. I've lived in Vermont. I've lived in Central California, and I've always come back to this area because you know, my we moved down here in 1969. My dad got a job at the tech center, which was then NAFEC. And I can't say enough about it. I don't really want to live anywhere else. So, you know, hopefully sea level rise won't drive us all out of here before
You're not
long.
supposed to say stuff
But-
like that.
But you know, we're
I'm going to jump in about the family thing.
Go for it.
Yeah. So they asked us to talk about what it's like to have a family here. And I told John when we first had kids that when the kids were old enough, we were going to go somewhere that had a really big backyard with lots of green, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to try and keep this really short. It's so hard because I'm really passionate about Atlantic City. Quick story. We homeschooled our daughters until they were of high school, almost high school age. And the one thing I just want to say that surprised me and it's been just a wonderful experience is the Atlantic City school system has been such a treasure for us. And if I backpedal just for a second, the Atlantic City library system is amazing. And the whole time that I was known as Zoe and Sage's mom. That's how people knew me around here for the longest time, even though I've been a singer for a long time around here. So there are so many wonderful qualities. There is a dojo in Atlantic City right across the street from Stockton called United Martial Arts, where our daughters studied Taekwondo, and they're both black belts now, so don't mess around with them if you see them on the street. I mean, I'm joking, but it was such a great thing to go from. We used to drive far away for that. Then we found this wonderful family. It's a father and son, right in Atlantic City, right there. They would walk from near the Tropicana all the way down to where Stockton is now at the ages of like 8 and 12, day and like to go to class and to come back. And so there's this story about Atlantic City not being safe. I mean, going to Atlantic City High School, they've had friends say, oh, well, we can't come to your house because you live in Atlantic City. Like, what? These guys have been, our daughters have been thriving here. It's just a wonderful place. And a lot of people don't realize this, to bring up a family. And I just wanted to put that out there to everyone. And I say everything that he says. I second that emotion. Oh, and biking. I love to bike in Atlantic City, not just on the boardwalk, but everywhere. And at some point, I'm hoping to get some sort of program going where every kid can have a bike in Atlantic City so they can get around and go places. So that's all. Okay, goodbye. Was that 2 minutes? Did I go over?
You were perfect.
Okay.
Our next speaker is Mark Starling. He's with the city's homebuyer program. Mark?
How's everybody doing this afternoon? Thanks for having us. We always like to be a part of anything that's going on in Atlantic City, so we can definitely help out and make it better. The city of Atlantic City does a first-time homebuyers program where the maximum allowable award is $20,000. HUD changed the rules, so each individual application is underwritten per the need of what the applicant would actually need to purchase the home. So if you need 5,000, 5,000 be what you get, even though 20 is the maximum. HUD also changed the rule, and some of the realtors know that have worked with me recently, that there'll be no money being given back to the potential homeowner at the time of closing as well, too. It's a very good program. It's very much income-based, as you know. You're dealing with HUD. We're waiting now for the 2021 the numbers to come out that will raise the income level. Right now, we're still working with 2020. So when that comes back in, I'll be updating the application. And I think Elizabeth has all my information, but it's easy. If you go on the website, it's up there as well. Mark Starling, CDBG, you can't miss us. We also run another program for homeowners already that want to do upgrades to their major systems. It's called the Citywide Rehab Program, and that maximum is $25,000. And that's to help going with, might need a new roof, a new HVAC system, windows, things of that nature. And both those applications, they should be online on our website, but if not, if you contact us, we can email them to you. And if you ever want to come to City Hall, they're always right outside room 510, where the CDBG office is located. So with all that being said, we're always here to help. If you have any type of questions, comments, concerns, if anybody know me, you call me or email me, I'll get right back to you as soon as I can.
Great. Mark, do you want to put your phone number and email in the chat? That'd be great.
All right, will do. But I'm gonna sign off. I didn't want to take up everybody's time. I know there's a whole bunch we want to talk. So I'm there. We're standard program. We're HUD funded. So come on down and come through. Let people know we're here.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ann Pham.
Good afternoon. So my name is Ann Pham, and I'm a sophomore at Stockton University with a major of criminal justice. First and foremost, I would actually like to express my gratitude to the Atlantic City Homeownership Program for inviting me today to share my story as a resident at Atlantic City. So I first moved to Atlantic City at the age of 7 from Vietnam, and I knew very little English at that time. So AC became my new home. And as many people know, when you're moving to a new place, it can be tough. And I had to learn very differently from what I grew up from. However, I am very grateful for my family by my side and the opportunity that Atlantic City education system has provided for my family. So education actually plays a huge role in my life because it was basically the sole purpose of my parents' decision to move to the US. They wanted me to have like a better chance and successful rate of having a career. And they always taught me to give back to community, no matter what you do, little or how big it is. So let's see. The first school that I attended was Sovereign Avenue School, and that school taught me so much values in life that I still carry on to this day. Sovereign Avenue was a very diverse in culture and had many opportunities for new students like me. The school provided assistance such as like ESL, after school program, and encourages many students to pursue their passion. Sovereign also gave me a passion to go to school, and in it, I joined a club called Asian Club, which was a place where any kid could join to learn how to dance multicultural music, perform at various locations. However, it was just more than a club for dancing. That club was like my family, and that place is where I met my best group of friends that I still hang out today. And Nilu. So Nilu was is the person in charge of the club and taught us the importance and meaning behind family, teamwork, respect, independence, and making the right choices. She always says to us that we have to write our own story in our own notebook, and she hoped one day that she will leave a mark in ours too. Miss Liu is such an inspirational person to me, and I'm glad for the Atlantic City educational system for having such kind teachers all around. Even through high school, I met many great teachers, counselors, and staff all around. The Atlantic City education system also values not only in academic goals, but in giving back to the community. Through my school years, I participated in many volunteering events such as like the AC Marathon, Salvation Army, food drive, blood donation, and many more. And even now, I'm currently in a nonprofit organization called Dynasty Alliance. Nilu also created this organization in hopes of teaching youths around the community to be able to dance, volunteer in different events around AC, much similar to Asian Club. Now, as a college student, I decided to pursue a passion that I know will definitely help the community. It will be my honor one day to become a police officer and help those in need in the community. I would like to end on a note saying that Atlantic City has really helped shape my education experience and sense of connectivity to the city. AC really is a great place to live and provides lots of opportunity for students to come and study. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. That was wonderful. Tom Hannon? Oh, you're muted. Tom, you're muted.
Got it. I'm Tom Hannon. I'm the Executive Director of Atlantic City Housing Authority, and I've been on too many Zoom meetings today, so I apologize to everyone. The Housing Authority has two separate ownership programs. First program that we have allows us to sell the inventory of the single-family homes that we own throughout the city. Those opportunities are offered to both our public housing workers, but also families in the low-income area. They would be to purchase those homes from us from anywhere from 40 to 60% appraised value. And just, you know, some of our homes right now appraising anywhere from $25,000 to $120. The past year, we have sold those homes to families who paid only $45,000 to $80,000 for those homes. Our programs are geared towards low-income families. It's an important sector of the marketplace that often gets overlooked because people think that home ownership requires a great deal of money. But as you're hearing from the other presenters and from the program, we have those opportunities are out there. Our second program that we have is specifically for those families who are on our 8 program. Family using the Atlanta Housing Authority Section 8 program can buy a home and utilize their Section 8 voucher to pay the mortgage. It's a phenomenal opportunity. It permits that low-income family to home for 15 years and have the bulk of their mortgage payments subsidized by the federal government. We take them through a program that talks to them about their credit bound, that talks to them about what homeownership means, to make that we're not just setting people for their dream and have that dream disappear for them. So we do a lot to help them through that process. And I would say that in the history of the program, which has been probably 20 years at this point, we have assisted over 100 families in buying homes. Now, as I said, our first home ownership program, inventory of homes here in Atlantic City. But anywhere our Section 8 program can purchase a home anywhere in Atlantic County, use that voucher to subsidize their mortgage. And that is a great assistance to folks. I will post my contact information in the chat room. Our home ownership programs are on our website. I will also put that up, and I look forward to your questions into the presentations. Next, Elizabeth, Mr. Eddie Morgan.
Can you hear me now? Hello? What happened?
We can
We
hear
got you,
you.
Eddie. We hear you.
But nobody said anything.
We were all muted.
Okay, all right, thank you. This forum is great. I am actually not a homeowner. My mom owns our home in Venice Park where I grew up. I grew up from Illinois Avenue then, which is now Dr. MLK Boulevard. Back in 1959, when I was 2, my grandmother owned a house on Illinois. When they widened the street, they took the home there with the eminent domain, and she used that money to buy a home in Venice Park. Now, as you know, or may not know, Venice Park used to be a predominantly, if not all white neighborhood, Italians and Jews and so forth. And we were the first Black family to move into Venice Park. My mom did an article a little while ago that outlined that fact about the redlining and the different scenarios that it brought to our family and how we made it work. Atlantic City is a great place to have kids and grow up. I taught in Atlantic City Public Schools for 13 years from 1986 to 1999. I've taught in the Pleasantville schools, 2 different stints. I just retired. But I'm not a homeowner for many reasons, because I was moving around a little bit and I wasn't actually stable to buy a home financially, even with the first time home buyers programs. I'm a musician full-time now as a retired music educator, but I'm looking to, and why I was so intrigued about this program, that there might be opportunities for my wife and I to buy a home now that I don't know about. So I'm gonna investigate if that's possible. Even at our ages, we don't necessarily want a mortgage, but it might be better than trying to continue to rent. So I will be looking into this, even though our incomes are way lower than what the maximums would be. I'm gonna talk to, who was that was on already? Either Mark Starling or the first one that gave information. Forgot the name. Lakeisha Walker. So I'll be looking into what they have and can offer, and hopefully maybe find something. But I believe that Atlantic City is on the upswing. After the casino boom and all the things that happened, back in the 80s and 90s. I'm sorry. We look towards our neighborhoods, which were, how can I say it, communities for nurturing the students in the school. All the teachers, when I was coming up, lived in the neighborhoods, and that was incentive for us to do better because we were encouraged constantly. Of course, they say a village takes a village to raise a child. We had that when Mr. Usry was was principal at Indiana Avenue School, and we had Mr. Johnson who was the vice principal, and Mr. Bozeman lived on Indiana Avenue. I mean, I can go on and on and on about that, which I'm not going to do. But there were teachers that lived in the city, and it was a difference from how it is now. But I think the home ownership needs to come back because we've lost a lot of full-time residents because of lack of housing, and not to say it's not good, but not to put up just housing that are like the North Beach project, but to have single-family homes come back to the neighborhoods like Bungalow Park and Venice Park and Chelsea Heights and the Chelsea section of the town, where you can have a single-family home and continue to raise your family or whatever it is you do. And Atlantic City is a great place. I love the fish. I go fishing. We need a fishing pier. That doesn't have anything to do with you, but like I go to Ventnor's Fishing Pier, which is only a short ride down the boardwalk if I take my bike, or if I drive. It's not far. But being on the island is really, really encouraging to me. And even though I don't know if I'm going to stay here, my music projects take me somewhere else. I love the island and I love the opportunities that it affords. So I encourage anyone, if you're looking to buy, do what you can to do that and be a part of this community, because we need good people to stay here and live and work, raise their children, and make Atlantic City great again. I'm done. And unfortunately, I've got to leave. So I want to thank you, Christina, and all the folks who put this together. AC Stories, I've told my story about entertainment and all that. And you can go to my Facebook page and see videos of me performing from Kelsey's to other places. I have a YouTube video from Willingboro, and I was in last week, first gig of the year, out in Media, Pennsylvania, with my piano player. So I'm accessible to Atlantic City. I'll put my information in the chat room. So if you're looking for music or anything I've talked about and want to give me a text or a call, it'll be there. God bless you. Thank you. I'm out.
Thank you, Eddie. That was
All right,
wonderful.
Christina.
Our next speaker is Pat Kelly with Fulton Bank.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Great. I don't see that I'm on the screen, but hopefully I'm on your screen. Yeah, I'm the loan officer / loan representative for Atlantic County for Fulton Bank. We have a couple really great programs that are unique, I think. We have a 3% down program, which is not an FHA program, it's a conventional program. I saw in the chat earlier that there was a question about mortgage insurance. There is no mortgage insurance with our 3% down program. Credit score is down to 620, and there are income limitations, but the income limitations that we have in the low to moderate housing areas, such as Atlantic City, basically it's $85,000 for the borrower. That's not household income. So when you see household income, understand that even if everybody that lives in the household is not the borrower, that still calculates into how much the household makes. So we can, on a $200,000 loan, that saves your borrowers about $140 a month, believe it or not. And that can be used, that $140 a month is basically about $35,000 to a mortgage, to a purchase price. So we can actually qualify buyers to a higher levels without having the mortgage insurance in there. And once again, it's a conventional loan and not an FHA loan, which can cause some problems with the property itself. If there are some certain things that are in the property, things like wood rot, minor things that maybe don't, associate with a conventional appraisal that they do with FHA. Last month, believe it or not, we came out with a 100% financing program. So that program is an 80% first mortgage and a 20% second mortgage, both written through us, both fixed mortgages. So in the old days, when we used to do our 80-20 programs, it was a home equity line of credit. The home equity line of credits tend to be an adjustable rate. They start off interest only, and then they re-amortize after 5 years, but the rate adjusts when prime adjusts. This is a new program that is a fixed 30-year second, along with a fixed 30-year first, same interest rate on both programs. So we're talking low to mid threes on that, no mortgage insurance once again. And the income, like I said, it is, income driven, but up to 85,000 in the low to moderate areas. It is anywhere else also. If you're not looking, and I'm not trying to, move the conversation out of Atlantic City, obviously, but if you're looking to move anywhere, we do have these programs available. And I'll put my contact info in the chat also, my cell number. I see that there's some real estate agents on the call that I've worked with in the past. If you guys have anyone, friends, family, neighbors, clients that are looking to come in with a low down payment, these really are, I've been in the business over 20 years. These are some of the best programs I've seen. And Fulton really does go out of their way in the CRA, community reinvestment money, to try to give back to the community. I'll put my number in there. If anyone has any questions, feel free to call me. I'll put my email address in there also. Shoot me an email. More than happy to talk to anybody, anytime.
Thank you so much, Pat. Our next speaker is Grace from PNC Bank.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Well, thank you so much to the Chamber, to Elizabeth, all of the nonprofits that are participating today. And most of all, I got to say thank you to the testimonials. I love them. They've given me Atlantic City envy. I want to move down there. I'm a loan officer for PNC, and my specialty is the affordable mortgage programs. I do cover Northern New Jersey, so you've just given me a wealth of knowledge about Atlantic City. Today, they've asked me to highlight our PNC community program. This is our first-time home buyer program that's specifically created for first-time buyers. The down payment requirement for a single-family home that's a primary residence is 3% down payment. This is a program that has no PMI, and as my colleague did share, that's going to save you between $100 to possibly $200 per month. And we also offer another program for, we also accept 640 FICO scores, and that just got lowered recently. We will also work with individuals who have non-traditional credit. And that's an individual who may not have been able to establish typical trade lines, 3 trade lines that have about 12, to 16 months of credit. So we will need to see 3 different sources of credit. So non-traditional credit would be your rent for 12 months. We would need to see possibly utility bills, cell phone bills, and obviously no late payments. For a 2-family home, 2-family purchase, we do require 5% down payment. For both of those types of properties, we will need to have you have a HUD certified counseling certification. if you're going to purchase a 2-family home, we do need to see also landlord certification that you've been trained for that. One of the things we do require is a 1 month of reserve. So that means that we would want to see after all the closing costs, the upfront fees, that you would have a month of mortgage payment, ready in the bank post-closing, because we want to give you a head start knowing that you didn't use all of your funds for this transaction. Now, we do have a $1,500 grant that could be used towards the down payment or closing cost, and this would be specific for income, for individuals that have low to moderate income. So for Atlantic City, for us, that would be anyone making below, who's an applicant, below $61,520. For Camden County, it would be anyone making below $81,000. And then we have another grant, $5,000 grant, if you're purchasing in a low to moderate income census tract. With that particular grant, you do not have to have an income limit. You can make $500,000 if you'd like, but you would still benefit from the $500,000 that would be utilized towards the closing cost. I know that a lot of first-time home buyers are pretty scared about taking these first steps towards home ownership. You have a wonderful collaboration of nonprofits that are here with you. We strongly urge that you take advantage of these partners that are here in your backyard to help you understand the process and to work with a loan officer that will assist you with these programs. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Grace. Our next speaker is Dylan with Atlantic Care Midtown CDC. Dylan?
Good afternoon, everyone. Michael, would you be able to let me share my screen, please? Thank you. And I'll pull this up.
Get that, Dylan?
Yes, I do. Thank you. It's coming up now.
Perfect.
Should be. Perfect. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dylan Wolderk. I'm with the Atlantic Care Foundation. I'm excited to announce today that Atlantic Care has just, as of March 1st, launched a down payment assistance program for its employees. And this is in partnership with New Jersey Community Capital, who's been a great partner for us throughout this process. And without their help, we wouldn't have been able to get this off the ground. So just go through a couple details here for you. Our goal for this program is to improve home ownership rates in Atlantic City, like many of the other programs shared today, with a focus on transitioning renters to homeowners. We know that we have, roughly over 200 employees that are living in Atlantic City, and that we can assist them in boosting their financial health by helping them achieve their goal of home ownership in the city. So program details similar to many of the other programs. So down payment assistance. Ours is based off of section of the city. So Atlantic Care is one of the leaders of the Midtown in Motion effort and Midtown Neighborhood Revitalization Project. So we are prioritizing that neighborhood of Atlantic City for $10,000 down payment. Some of the other neighborhoods, Chelsea, Ducktown, Bungalow Park, Venice Park, are also included for $8,000. And then the rest of the city, if it's not included in those, would have down payment assistance up to $5,000 available for our employees. This is set up as a 0% forgivable second loan. The property must be the primary residence. This is designed for first-time home buyers or those who have not owned a home in the previous 3 years. We want to make sure that this is just not kind of a get up and go situation. So the loan length is 5 years with 20% forgiven per year. We have intentionally structured this to make it available in addition to many of the other home buying incentives that are available. And as part of our process, it's an annual check just to verify residency to ensure that this is intended as a residence. For eligibility, you have to be employed at Atlantic Care for 6 months and employee good standing. Our loans are not conditioned on continued employment. So if someone were to transition to another employer for whatever reason, obviously we would hope they would stay. But if that is the case and they find an opportunity elsewhere, this program would continue for them. We are, as many of the other programs, looking at low to moderate income, so ours is 120% AMI. And as part of the program, we are requiring 8 hours of counseling and home buyer education. So this is financial literacy, minor home repairs. Our goal is to make sure once our employees are transitioning over to homeowners that they have the tools to be able to maintain that purchase and keep themselves financially healthy. So the program's a starting point for us. This is really our first foray into this field, but we hope it'll continue to grow and that other organizations in the community can look to us and this program as a starting point for how they can improve homeownership in the city, invest in the city we all care so deeply about, as well as benefit their employees. So I'll put my contact information in the chat, and I think with that, I am now passing off to Christina.
Yes, Dylan, could you make me the host, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have the pressure of being the last speaker after all this great information being shared today. I'm excited. So give me a moment. I'm sharing my screen. Okay, can we all see?
Mhm.
Okay, great. So once again, hello everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Christina Noble. I'm the project manager for an organization called Stories of Atlantic City. As you heard today from our speakers, I'm going to be talking about the narrative of Atlantic City. So I don't necessarily have advice for buying a home, but I can talk to the great city that Atlantic City is. So I helped, of course, assisting and coordinating the community members who shared their powerful stories with you today. And weren't they amazing, by the way? Such wonderful stories about the city. So I'm going to tell you a little more about this wonderful project that I work for, but first I would like to offer you a prompt. What are your perceptions of Atlantic City? And I know some people spoke to that today. So just take a moment. I'm not going to call on you. You don't have to raise your hand. But just take a moment to yourself to think about the words, feelings, and or images that come to mind. So oftentimes, this is how Atlantic City is perceived. Very dreary, melancholy, forsaken, it's grim, right? They talk about the casinos often and not necessarily the community. I know there was a recent article by Political called, it was called A City Without a Pulse. And these Black and white scale images that you see now were actually photographs taken from a New York Times article that published last year to highlight how Atlantic City was faring during the pandemic. But we know in reality, for the people that live there and are familiar with the city, we know it is a vibrant city with rich history. It's full of artists, activists, educators, entrepreneurs, promising youth. We have some amazing organizations. We have a beautiful shore, and we indeed have a pulse. So as you can see, media is a powerful tool, and it often shapes the narrative of a people and or community. So now that I've talked about that, I can dive into who we are at Stories of Atlantic City. So Stories of Atlantic City is a collaborative project focused on telling restorative, untold stories about the city and its people. We're working on stories and information sharing that inspires hope, change, and highlights experiences of resilience despite challenges. We have three main areas of focus. They include community organizing and outreach. So we pull on local talent to provide amazing programming that centers around storytelling in all of its forms. We also host workshops and events that create dialogue, and we connect with our communities in other ways. We also act as traditional and hyperlocal media collaboration. So we operate as our own news hub, so to speak. We collaborate with local multimedia content creators, freelancers, and news organizations to create and publish stories of resilience and hope. And lastly, we serve as an education resource. We're supported by Stockton University, which allows us to collaborate with students in multiple capacities. We currently have interns who act as multimedia content producers, and we also work closely with Stockton's Center for Community Engagement and Service Learning. So now I just want you to think back to the prompt that I offered you earlier. What are your perceptions? I want you to think about all the wonderful stories that were shared from our AC community members today. And now I'm thinking of that. after you've heard these real stories from real residents and real community members, and you've heard the authenticity, you've heard the love for the city and what an amazing place it is. You've heard how it's so filled with history and opportunities, how it's a city of resilience, how it's filled with parents and workers and clergy and teachers and talented youth, and the list goes on. I want you to consider that and think about that now is the perfect time to seize these opportunities in Atlantic City and everything that it has to offer. So how will you add to the story of Atlantic City? Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. That ends our program. Mike, I think, is going to help moderate and work through some of the questions that have been brought up. I do want to address briefly the fact that between flood insurance and property taxes, there are added costs, and the programs that you heard about today do help to mitigate those costs. It's because it can get you to a lower mortgage rate. But those are real issues that people have to consider when they look at buying in Atlantic City. With that being said, the cost to rent can still be higher than the cost to own, even with the taxes and the flood insurance. So we're going to continue to try and encourage home ownership and try and provide more information to help people do that. I think one of the more interesting and important questions was about combining the different programs that are available. Most of the state and the county programs do require certain lenders, as Lakeisha mentioned and Joe Girallo mentioned. There's lenders, that a list of lenders that will be provided. You can't combine the state, the city, or the county programs because they all want to be in second position. But I'm going to turn this over to someone else. Maybe Joe can speak more specifically. Maybe the question is whether Fulton Bank, for example, whether the Fulton Bank program or the PNC program can be combined with the second mortgage that would be, say, with the county. Who wants to take that question? Joe?
Elizabeth, you were exactly correct. So long as our programs here at the Improvement Authority, so long as the Improvement Authority is in second position, we try our best to work with any of the other programs that are here today. We will go no lower than second position. And I think that you'll find that with all of the programs that are here today. That's where the problem comes.
And yes, can you guys hear me? It's Pat Kelly with Fulton Bank. So I actually got a question from Jean, I think, and I replied to her directly. But yes, all but the HMFA program, just with the certain programs we have, because ours are conventional, not FHA. So any of the city, the county, those can be used for down payment assistance as well as closing costs. And I neglected to mention, we also have closing cost assistance programs that go along with our mortgages up to $2,500.
Great. Dylan, for Atlantic Care employees, would they be able to combine the grant program you're offering with the county program, for example, or the city program? We can't hear you.
I just asked them to unmute.
Let's see. I'm muted now?
Yep.
Good.
Okay. So we have structured it so that we don't necessarily have to be in second position for this. So we will be able to combine with other programs so long as that works. I know Dan Coglin's also on the call. If there's any more specifics on that, with New Jersey Community Capital, Dan, if there's any more specifics there, but we have structured it to try to make it available elsewhere.
Yeah, so absolutely. So my name is Dan Coglin. I run the Address Yourself program for New Jersey Community Capital, which is partnering with Dylan's Atlantic Care to basically train Atlantic Care employees for homeownership in Atlantic City. So we absolutely can layer this with the city, the county, or the state money. The lenders that we have approved are HMFA approved lenders. And in each case, provided a product to purchase, then they can absolutely go use the HMFA money.
Great. Well, Dan, you might be able to answer another question about home ownership classes. And Tom, I had mentioned to you, or I put in the chat, are you still offering home ownership classes? So Dan, you're doing that for Atlantic Care.
Yes. Well, so, that's actually a great sort of segue to talk about real quick my program. My program provides free housing counseling for anybody in New Jersey, right? So if you're looking to receive free housing counseling, please go to addressyourself.org. We'll immediately put you into a queue to receive free housing counseling. So, and that does qualify you for so beyond the Atlantic Care program, I also maintain a fund of down payment assistance money for Atlantic County. So there is another, opportunity for people to purchase in Atlantic County as well. Although, so I do want to stress that there was a question in the chat earlier. The Atlantic Care funds are for Atlantic Care employees only.
Yeah. And specifically for Atlantic City, for Atlantic Care.
Yes.
Great. Okay.
Elizabeth, there's been so much great information about this. Elizabeth and I were kind of chatting online. We're going to try and summarize a lot of these questions and put information on one landing page on our site and send it out to everybody else. We did record this. We will send it out to everybody. We're trying to get through some of these questions, but I think, Elizabeth, you did answer the majority of the questions were related to combining some of those funds.
Mm-hmm. I also wanted to mention that several of the CDCs, well, two CDCs, the Chelsea Economic Development Corp and Ducktown, have applied for funds from the state. We're waiting to get the word any day now on the allocation. And we plan to use some of that money for additional down payment assistance also. So something around like $10,000 per household, similar to what Atlantic Care is doing. For us, it would be focused in the Chelsea neighborhood. Our target area is the low to moderate income area that runs from Annapolis to Texas Avenue, Beach to Bay. So keep an eye out for that. And we're looking forward to doing that. We think that's really the best way to incentivize home ownership. We know that there needs to be rehab of properties. There needs to be new housing stock in the city, but maybe if we can create enough of these programs that provide funding for people to buy, then the private market will come in and rehab houses and create more of an inventory that's so desperately needed in the city.
We've got a question here about single family home use versus a condo. Can any of this funding be used for a condo?
My understanding is yes. Joe saying yes.
Yes.
Dylan?
Our program, yes, absolutely, we could do condo.
Yep. Lakeisha, your program allows for condos, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Yes, and our mortgages also allow for condos.
Beautiful.
With Fulton Bank, yes.
Great.
And I think most of them allow for also two-family properties. So if you buy a property that has a rental income, it may affect how much of a down payment you get, but that also qualifies.
Correct.
Okay. I just want to mention too that the ACIA program for rehab, the ACIA manages the contractors. And I think that's probably more of the challenge than actually spending the money is to manage contractors. Correct, Joe?
Yes, you're exactly correct. We handle it from start to finish. We have an inspector that's out there. If not, it's me. We're hands-on. We keep an eye on all of that. So that's important. And you're correct. A lot of it is more difficult than the work itself.
And the city program is the same. They manage the contractor as well.
Yeah.
Great. Are there any questions that did not get answered? If anyone wants to speak up, we do, have a few more minutes.
She's just asked the question. Yes, we do a duplex We will help with a duplex. We don't offer 10% of the purchase price. We offer 5%, and you must live in one house.
Mhm. Okay, Michael, you want to wrap up?
Yeah, I'm not seeing any other questions. On behalf of the Greater Atlantic City Chamber, Elizabeth, Christina with Stockton, thank you all for joining us. We had over 100 people on at one point. Absolutely fantastic. We hope that you found this incredibly worthwhile. I know I learned a ton. Elizabeth and I will do our best to summarize everything that we have. We're going to put that on one landing page. We'll email that back out to all of the attendants from today. So just give us a day or so to put this information together. It's a lot. But we also recorded it. We'll include a link for that as well. So just anybody else want to add any closing? I don't want to thank everybody for joining. I mean, this was really fantastic. I appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. So important to our communities.
Thank you.
Listen, everybody, take care. Be well. Wash your hands. Take care of each other. We'll see you soon. Thanks again for attending. Appreciate it.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be well, everybody.
Thank you.